I should have known something was off when I saw white chairs lined up like gravestones on my lakeside patio. Dozens of them. Perfectly spaced. Facing the water. There was a big white arch. Rose petals. Ribbon. One of those fake chalkboard signs that said, "Welcome to the beginning of forever." Except it was on my land. My lake. My patio. I live on a 20-acre ranch in rural Texas. Peaceful, private, and 100% paid for. And this HOA? They don't even have jurisdiction over my fence line. But that never stopped Karen. Her real name's Delilah Karen Pennington, but around here she's just Karen, the HOA's self-declared queen. Drives a Range Rover the size of a food truck, and her perfume arrives 5 seconds before she does. I had declined her request weeks ago. She emailed me, "We'd love to host my daughter's lakeside wedding on your patio. We'll only need it for 5 hours and you'll barely notice us. Plus, you don't use it anyway." I replied, politely but clearly, "No. I didn't rent out my patio. I didn't run a venue. And most importantly, I didn't want 200 people stomping around the cedar deck I built with my own hands beside a lake my grandfather dug with his." She didn't respond. I figured that was the end of it. It wasn't. 2 days before the wedding, I went out to the lake and saw a whole team setting up. Tent poles hammered into my soil. String lights. Folding tables. A bar cart being wheeled in. I asked the crew chief, "Who told you this was okay?" He checked his clipboard and said, "Karen. Said it was family-owned. Permission granted." I said, "Family-owned? I own this. It's my name on the deed." They stopped. Paused. And then Karen pulled up. She waltzed out of her Rover in full beach hat and clipboard glory and said, "Oh, don't be so difficult. It's for Charlie's big day." I told her flatly, "This is private property. You never had permission." She rolled her eyes like I was the inconvenience. "I'll send you a thank you card," she said. Like I was a rental company. Like I should be grateful. I told her she had 24 hours to pack it all up. She smiled and said, "The event's already in the invitation. Hundreds of guests are coming. Are you really going to be that guy?" I didn't answer. Because I had a better plan. See, Karen didn't know one thing. The patio she'd stolen? Wasn't just a patio. It was floating. I'd built it years ago, half on solid land, half as a floating dock, anchored by adjustable pontoons. Used it for fishing. Swimming. Sometimes just relaxing in a lawn chair. Karen had covered it in flowers and thought it was just some Pinterest-ready platform. She didn't notice the heavy-duty winch I'd buried behind the trees. Or the pulleys. Or the underwater rail that connected it to a pivot point on the far side of the lake. Because yes, it rotated. Slowly. Smoothly. And when released, it would swing away from shore like a lazy drawbridge. It was built to follow the sun during the day. But it could be turned manually. So I waited. I waited through their rehearsal. Through Karen bossing around the florist. The photographer. The caterer. I waited while she gave fake tours of my property like she owned the zip code. I waited until the big moment. Wedding day. Hundreds of people. Everyone dressed in soft beige and blush. Cell phones out. Music playing. Charlie, bless her, stood at the edge of the patio in a wedding dress that probably cost more than my truck. The officiant raised his hands. The dearly beloved speech began. And that's when I pulled the lever. At first, no one noticed. The platform moved slow. Graceful. Like a carousel turning in the breeze. But then the aisle drifted. The arch turned. The guests gasped. Phones shook. Charlie looked down. Realized her shoes were sliding sideways. The best man panicked. Karen screamed, "Stop. Stop the platform." But it was 20 feet from shore now. Still turning. Still drifting. Some guests tried to jump across the growing gap. 2 made it. 1 fell in. There was a splash, followed by shrieking. The DJ tried to unplug his speakers. They slipped right off into the water. By the time Karen got to the winch, I was already sitting in a lawn chair next to it, holding a lemonade. She was breathless, fuming. "What did you do?" I said, "Oh, I flipped it." She shrieked, "You're ruining her special day." I smiled. "You already ruined mine. This was my weekend to be left alone." She pointed her long, acrylic nail at my face. "I'll sue you," I said, "for operating my own dock on my own lake, on land you trespassed on?" She blinked. Realized how bad it sounded. I leaned back and said, "You should really read the posted signs. And maybe ask permission next time." She shouted across the water, "Charlie, just stay calm." The bride was now spinning slowly with her entire bridal party, trapped on a floating patio in the middle of a lake, surrounded by drifting rose petals and a floating veil. Eventually, I brought the dock back. I'm not heartless. They got to say their vows. But I charged them a full $10,000 unauthorized venue fee. Karen refused to pay at first. Until I showed her the drone footage I captured. From 3 angles. Including the moment she clearly trespassed. And the part where her daughter's dress got tangled in my fishing pole. She paid. In cash. No thank you card ever came. A week later, I installed a fence around the lake. And a keypad gate. New sign out front reads, "Private property, not a wedding venue, trespassers will be floated." Every now and then, I go out there with a cold drink and sit on that patio. It still spins. Still glides over the water smooth as butter. But now, I keep it locked to shore with one heavy chain. Until someone gets entitled. Then I just smile? And get the lever ready. Because nothing ruins an illegal wedding like surprise nautical travel.